It's autumn, which means I was craving something with apples in it, so today we are making these apple pie stuffed cookies. These are definitely worth your time. We're going to start by making our apple pie filling. You're going to need your equipment and 4 apples. Go ahead and give your apples a quick little peel so that your apples are all nice and smooth like this. And then just cut your apples, getting as close to the core as you can. Then you want to lay them flat, cut them down one side, turn them, cut them down the other side, turn them, cut them down the other side, until you get these nice little apple squares. Go ahead and add them all to a bowl for now. Grab yourself a medium saucepan, and to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Bring that over to the stove and start melting that butter over medium heat. Then add your diced apples in, plus 3 tablespoons of water and 1/3 cup of white granulated sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and just a pinch of nutmeg. Give that a stir and then let that cook over medium heat for 4 minutes. While that's cooking, grab a bowl and add 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, and add 2 tablespoons of water. Mix that up. Add your cornstarch slurry mixture to your apples. Mix that up. Let it cook for another minute or 2, or just until the apples are soft and tender but not mushy. Then turn the heat off, and that's it. The best delicious apple pie filling is done. Now we're going to go ahead and make our snickerdoodle cookies, which if you don't know is sort of like a cinnamon sugar cookie. And by themselves they're really good, so I think they'll go perfect with the apple pie filling. So to your mixer bowl, add 1 cup of slightly softened butter and 1.5 cups of white granulated sugar. Put that in your mixer. Mix it on medium speed. Now we're going to cream the butters and the sugar for about 3 minutes. And while that's working, we'll get our dry ingredients together. First up, 2 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Next up, 2 teaspoons cream of tartar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and lastly 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Now give that all a good mix, and then push that off to the side for now. Now grab 2 eggs and then crack them one at a time into your butter and sugar mixture. Add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and then let everything mix until it's nice and fully incorporated. Scrape down the sides of your bowl. Then we are going to slowly start adding in our dry ingredients. Once everything is all mixed in, we're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl, scrape off our paddle attachment. Then we can set our cookie batter off to the side for now, because we're going to make some cinnamon shuggy to roll our cookie batter balls in. To a bowl, we're going to add 1/3 cup of white granulated sugar and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. Give everything a mix, make sure everything is nice and blended, and then here comes the fun part. We're going to scoop out about a tablespoon of dough, roll it around into a ball, place it onto our baking sheet, then using our fingers, we're going to flatten it out and shape it sort of like a mini pizza. Then over each one of our pizza shaped cookie discs, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of our apple pie filling. Then we are going to get a bigger scoop of our cookie dough, scoop that right into our cinnamon, roll that around into our cinnamon sugar, and then we are going to place the cinnamon sugar rolled balls right over our apple pie filling. We're going to flatten it out and make sure all the apples are tucked under. Then once you've done this to all your cookies and they're ready to bake, we're going to place them in a preheated 350-degree oven for 15 minutes. After which they should look something like this. Now let them rest on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes. Now you could let these cool all the way, but I like to eat them warm. Now let me tell you, these were straight up delicious, scrumptious. The snickerdoodle cookie, nice and soft, nice cinnamon flavor. The apples, not too firm, not too soft, just right. Tasted just like an apple pie. For real, I should have got some vanilla ice cream and made an ice cream sandwich out of these, but I'm thinking too far ahead. Maybe I'll do that in another video. Alright y'all, that's it for this video. That's it for me. That's it for me in this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if you plan on making these stuffed apple pie cookies. Today we are making s'mores blossoms, a thick and chewy graham cracker cookie topped with a fluffy and toasted marshmallow and then crowned with a decadent melted Hershey Kiss. And to me, this is a perfect end of summer, beginning of fall treat. The first thing we're going to need is some Hershey Kisses. Now it doesn't have to be this exact brand or this exact flavor, just some Hershey Kisses, you get the idea. And this recipe makes 24 cookies, so depending on whether or not you're going to want to put a Hershey Kiss on top of each marshmallow, depends on how many Hershey Kisses you're going to need. Obviously if you want to do all of them, you're going to need 24 unwrapped Hershey Kisses. And the next thing you're going to need is 12 big marshmallows. Now I say 12 because we're going to take one and cut them in half. And I'm sure there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but a pair of kitchen shears or scissors works the best. Once I got all my Hershey Kisses unwrapped and my marshmallows cut, I'm gonna throw that in the fridge to stay cool. The next thing you're gonna need is some graham crackers. Now we're gonna need about 1 cup finely crushed graham crackers, which is about 8 of those little squares. And there's a couple of different ways you can do this. I like to just throw them in my food processor and give them a whirl. If you don't have a food processor, you can throw them in a Ziploc bag and then hit them with a rolling pin or something like that. Add your graham cracker crumbs to a bowl, and then we're gonna move on to our dry ingredients for our cookie batter, just to be clear. So to a medium bowl, we're gonna add 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, plus 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're gonna give that a little whisk to combine, and then push that to the side for now because it's time to break out the stand mixer. To our stand mixer bowl, we're gonna add 1/2 cup of salted butter softened, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar, and 3/4 cups of those graham cracker crumbs we just made. We're gonna let that mix together for about 3 minutes and get nice and fluffy, and then I'm gonna add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 egg. We're going to let that all mix in, and then we're going to slowly add all of our flour, our dry ingredients, until just barely combined. And then we're pretty much ready to bake. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and then we are going to scoop out about a tablespoon of our dough. We're going to roll that into a ball. Then we're going to roll our cookie ball into that leftover graham cracker crumb dust, whatever you want to call it, from before, until it's nice and covered. Then we're going to place that into a parchment paper lined baking dish, or if you have one of these non-stick mats, that also works too. Then we're going to bake these 350 degrees for about 9 minutes. Now let your cookies rest for about 2 minutes and turn your broiler onto high. And just so there's no confusion, I'm transferring my cookies to another baking dish because I'm not sure if that non-stick mat will stand up to the heat from the broiler. What we're going to do next is take one of our marshmallow halves and press it right into the center of our cookies, and pressing down until you see the cookies start to crack around the edges. Now you're going to want to work quickly here. You're going to place those cookies right under the broiler, right under that flame, no less than 30 seconds. Keep an eye on them, watch them carefully. Now it really is up to you how dark you want your marshmallows to get, how done you like them. I'm going for, a golden brown. As soon as they start turning golden brown, pull them directly out of the oven, and then immediately take one of your Hershey Kisses and push it right down into the center of those marshmallows while they're nice and warm. And that's it. Your Hershey S'mores Blossoms are done. You can let these cool slightly and then enjoy them warm, but to be honest, I had a few of them later on in the day, and they are just as delicious when they're eaten cold. And this really is like a perfect end of summer, beginning of fall treat. All right, y'all, that's it for me. That's it for this video. That's it for me in this video. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, and I'll see you in the next video. Today we are making these mini sugar cookie conversation hearts, a classic for Valentine's Day, depending on when you're watching. Let's get started. Alright guys, here's a quick look at some of our ingredients for our cookie batter. We'll go over them in more detail in a sec. Into a large bowl, we'll add 1 cup of softened room temperature butter, 1½ cups powdered sugar. And with a hand mixer, we'll start working this on low speed to avoid a blowout. Once our butter starts to crumble, we're going to add in 1 egg, a teaspoon of vanilla, and we'll mix this all together. Then we'll stop and we'll add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of cream of tartar. And while we're mixing slowly, we're going to add in 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to mix that up until well combined. Lastly, I'm going to give this another few stirs with a rubber spatula just to make sure all the flour on the bottom is mixed in. Then we're going to cover this with some wax paper and refrigerate this for 2 to 3 hours. Next, we'll flour down our work surface. Add a little flour to our rolling pin. Get our dough down, and we're going to start rolling this out. And it might be a little hard at first, especially since this just came right out the fridge, but the more you start working it, eventually it'll all come together. So we're going to roll our dough out about 1/4 inch thick. Then we're going to get out our heart-shaped cookie cutter, and I'm going to use the 1-inch cookie cutter. So we'll cut all of our cookies out, starting at any corner or edge and working our way to the middle and eventually the opposite side. Once we have a tray full, we're going to bake them at 375 degrees for 6 to 8 minutes until the edges are firm and lightly brown. And once you're all out of space to cut more cookies, we're going to re-ball our dough, re-roll it, and cut even more cookies out. In total, you should get about 100 to 200 cookies. Once all of our cookies are baked, we're going to let them cool on these racks for about 20 to 30 minutes before icing them. And by my count from one batch, we got about 200 or so cookies, but who's counting? Alright guys, for our next step, you're going to need a pack of food coloring, 2 containers of vanilla frosting, and of course, you could make your own, but to save time and money, I'm going to use the store-bought, and a pack of decorating pens, which are optional. And you're going to want to plan out the colors that you're going to want to do. So to start out, we're going to take about 1/3 cup of our frosting and place it into a microwave safe bowl. Then we're going to microwave this for 30 seconds until it's thin enough to pour. For my first batch, I'm going to do white, so I'm not going to be adding any coloring. Then, working quickly, we're going to place a hard cookie in our frosting and toss it and roll it in the frosting using 2 forks. Then, we're going to let the excess drain off and then place it on a rack to dry. So, since I have about 200 cookies, we're going to be doing about 20 cookies per color. So we're going to repeat these steps for every batch. So for every new batch, we're going to repeat the same steps, adding 1/3 cup of frosting to a bowl, microwaving for 30 seconds, adding our food coloring, dip, roll, drain, and repeat. Okay everyone, after 2 days, we're finally done. All 200 of our cookies are coated, and here's a look at some of the colors I went with. After that, we'll decorate some of them. And now we're going to take our decorative pens and decorate. Make some designs, write little messages, get creative. I mean, really, here, your imagination really is the limit. And here's the conclusion to this video. These were long and tedious to make, and took about 2 days from start to finish. Would I recommend anyone make these? Yeah, they were delicious, and they look amazing, but keep that in mind. Okay guys, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video if you do. Thanks for watching. Did somebody say they want an awesome, quick, satisfying homemade snack? Oatmeal cream pie's here. We'll start with our dry ingredients. First, into a small bowl goes 1½ cups all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and ½ teaspoon of salt. We'll take a small whisk, give this a mix, and then set this aside for now. Then, in a larger bowl, we're going to add 2 sticks of softened room temperature salted butter, 3/4 cups of brown sugar, ½ cup of white sugar, and with a stand mixer or a hand mixer, we're going to beat our ingredients until creamy, about 4 to 5 minutes depending on the softness of your butter. Once creamy, we're going to stop and scrape down the sides of our bowl. Then we're going to add 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and once again we turn on our mixer and beat everything until well incorporated. Then, with our mixer on medium speed, we're going to slowly add in our flour mixture until everything is well incorporated and mingled. And once all our flour mixture is incorporated, we're going to add 3 cups of old-fashioned uncooked oats. And we'll mix this on medium speed until our oats are just barely combined, about 1 to 2 minutes. You know what's next. We're going to start dropping these onto an ungreased cookie sheet with a cookie scoop or by the spoonfuls. Then we're going to take a rubber spatula and a knife and press these down a bit, just a bit, and that's going to help them flatten out and spread more evenly in the oven. Which is where these are headed, into a preheated 350-degree oven for 10 to 11 minutes. Which after which your cookies should look something like this. And no matter how bad you want to touch them, don't. Let them sit for 3 to 4 minutes before we move them to a wire rack to cool completely. While our cookies are cooling, we'll work on our cream filling. Into a large bowl, add 1 stick or ½ cup of softened room temperature salted butter, followed by 2 cups of confectioner's sugar, also known as powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a tablespoon of heavy cream. Then with our mixer, we're going to start out on low speed so sugar doesn't fly out everywhere, like that, and we're going to gradually work up to high speed and mix this until light and fluffy, which should take about 2 to 3 minutes. And I felt like mine needed just a touch more heavy cream, so I'm going to add about another tablespoon until I get it a little bit more creamy. And once we're done, you should taste it to see if it's sweet enough or creamy enough for you. Mine was perfect, so our next step is spreading our cream onto our cookies. You can use a spoon or a knife or a piping bag. Me, I'm going to use this neat little piping gun that somebody got me. We're going to pick out 2 cookies that are roughly the same size, a top and a bottom. And the only thing left to do is ice these bad boys. And that's it for this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you do, I'll see you in the next video. Today, we are making orange cookies with a sweet orange glaze. We'll start with our dry ingredients. I'm going to add 2½ cups all-purpose flour to a large bowl, followed by a teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to give this a mix and we'll set it aside for now. And here's why. In a smaller bowl, we're going to add 1 cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of orange zest. So what we're going to do next is take our fingers and rub the orange zest and the sugar together between our fingers until the zest is completely incorporated with the sugars. Essentially, what we want is from the oils from the orange zest to become fully incorporated with the sugar. And when you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Beautiful orange sugar. Next, we'll add our orange zesty sugar to a bowl with 1 cup of unsalted butter. And using our electric mixer, we're going to mix this on medium speed, creaming the butter and the sugar until light and fluffy. Then we'll crack in 1 egg. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons of some fresh home squeezed orange juice. And we'll mix until combined. And we'll scrape down the sides as we go along. Next, we'll gradually add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients. Turn our mixer onto low speed and mix this until just barely combined. Once that flour is mixed in, we'll add a little bit more and keep going gradually until all our flour is mixed in. And once our dough is done, we're going to use our medium cookie scoop or 2 tablespoons. We'll scoop out our dough into balls and place them 2 inches apart on a cookie sheet. Then we are going to bake these in a preheated 350-degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes. After which, you should get something that looks like this. So we are going to let these cool for 5 minutes on our cookie sheet before transferring them to a wire rack to cool completely. And while our cookies are cooling, we'll make our sweet orange glaze. We'll add 1 tablespoon of orange zest to a bowl with 1.5 cups powdered sugar and enough fresh orange juice to get our desired consistency. More juice for a thinner glaze and less juice for a thicker glaze. And in total, I ended up using about 6 tablespoons of orange juice to get the perfect consistency that I wanted. And once your glaze is the way you like it, it's time to start glazing our cookies. just for some added decoration, I'm going to top each of mine with just a little bit of leftover orange zest. And that's it. Our orange cookies with a sweet orange glaze are done. How do they taste? Pretty good. They taste like a sugary, buttery orange cookie. Definitely a win in my book.